Hello and welcome to this West Yorkshire football show. I'm your host, Stephen Downs, and tonight I'm joined by the legendary figure that is Mr. Gaz, Bradford City. Gaz, hey up, mate? How are you doing?
I'm not so bad, although I do have to point out that you used the Town Talk overlay to start that show with.
I did, yeah.
And I'm not sure whether that was deliberate based on how you told me you're going to introduce the show, or whether it was an error.
No, it was a definite error. I apologise about that. But yeah, it brings me on nicely. We have got Mr. Jason Booker joining us in a little while, and he's going to be delighted to know that we are going to spend the entire show talking about our glorious Huddersfield Town, our wonderful Alfie May is, and why Lee Grant is the best manager in the EFL. But apart from that, we might talk a little bit of Bradford City as well. They won at the weekend back in League One, and Leeds played a meaningless pre-season friendly. We'll also react to that with Jason too. Talk a little bit about the Premier League and also the upcoming Sky Bet Championship. So thanks very much for everybody joining us on the Monday Roundtable show. As ever, it's really great to have you. Please do get your comments in, like and share and subscribe to the channel. We all work really hard to bring you content, even if we do make mistakes with the overlays. It's let's get into it. We'll start with talking about Bradford City, Gaz. Back in League One, I know that you were probably a bit nervous about going into the fixture with Wycombe, obviously a team that did really well in League One last season, but absolutely fantastic to get a victory on the opening day, mate.
Yeah, just a bit apprehensive because you don't know how it's going to go first game of the season, and we know that first games in the season aren't really a yardstick to measure anything by. You see all sorts of strange results. I remember possibly 2 years ago, I think MK Dons won 5-0, and then 6 weeks later they'd sacked the manager. So you don't know how it's going to go, but obviously Wycombe as well, a team that have yo-yoed between League One and the Championship over the last sort of 4 to 5 years, and then recently, in particular, been up and around. I think last year they were in the autos for promotion, weren't they, to the Championship for quite a long time, and then dropped out when the manager left and went to Luton. But still made the playoffs. So we knew we were facing a good League One team. It wasn't a bog standard League One team. It was a top end League One team. And I think Stephen Humphreys said in the build up to the game that Wycombe are a good yardstick to test yourself against when you go into League One, because they are a good League One team, so you get a good gauge of where you might be at. And we did well, to be honest, Downsy. I saw the game go how I expect a lot of games to go this season, in that we're not going to dominate possession like we probably have done in League Two. Because teams in League Two just used to come and sit back and let you have the ball and then waste time. And we've all seen it when you're up against a big fish. But obviously in League One, we're not the biggest fish. We're probably still a reasonably decent sized club for League One level, but teams will come and will attack you a bit more. And the way Alexander plays is obviously, in an ideal world, Alexander likes to play very direct. So we didn't have a lot of the ball. I can't remember the possession stats specifically, but Wycombe did dominate the ball and played a lot of intricate football. But we did what we do under Alexander, and we came out like a steam train, pressed from the front and started the game really well and put them on the back foot. And it was a good performance and a good result.
Obviously, there's been lots of positivity going into the season with Bradford, not just because of how the last season ended, of course, but the new faces that you've been able to bring into the club, which I think you've made some absolutely great signings. Probably, better than what I thought you were going to make in Humphreys, the lad from Wimbledon that was extremely good last season as well. But in terms of just the whole day then, Gaz, do you think it was what you kind of were expecting? Did you expect City to come out like the way that they did? Because they kind of, from what I understood from listening to you and reading a lot of what other City fans were saying, that, it was kind of the perfect way to begin the season, to roll over what has been a big head in League One for a little while now in Wycombe. I know that they surprised a few people last season, but in how well they actually did. But they have been a decent team in League One now for 2-3 seasons, Matt.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's why I was apprehensive, Downsy, because you know you're playing a decent side. You're not playing someone that's expected to struggle. You're playing against someone that is expected to do reasonably well and be challenging for the playoff sort of minimum, really. I think their fans will expect. Yeah, I mean, I know they had Richard Cornet didn't play, who's obviously their star man. I think he's been subject to a lot of interest throughout the transfer window, and he was, as a result of that, left out. But the first 5 minutes, they played some really, really good attacking football, did Wickham, knocked it about really well, popping it off, laying it round the corner, little bits like that. But once we managed to press them in their half of the field, we forced them into mistakes, and they didn't look particularly great at the back. And like I say, steamrolled them really, Downsy, in that first sort of 15 minutes. We got one goal. Went 1-0 up from, Josh Neuville, the lad we've signed from Wimbledon, were just absolutely fantastic.
Your man of the match, from what I read.
He did. We knew he was a bit of a coup when we managed to get him. Wimbledon fans expected him to possibly go to the Championship. Definitely didn't expect him to come to City when he left Wimbledon. And obviously he's come in and he's taken the shirt from Brad Halliday, who's very, very solid for us at right wing back. But yeah, he was fantastic, getting up and down that right hand side, lots of energy, good going forward, good going back, can put a decent ball into the box, and he actually stemmed from a back-heeled cross into the box from Neufville, and it fell to Stephen Humphreys, who had a shot that was saved, and then it popped out to the left-hand side. It was recycled back into the box. Humphreys had another shot that was palmed out, and Sarcevic was following it in and just headed the palmed out from the keeper. Sarcevic headed it back into the net, and we were 1-0 up. And they were a bit shell-shocked after that with Wickham, to be honest, and we dominated for a few minutes, managed to get the second goal. Again, it comes down the right-hand side. Neufville, very prominent again. Ball gets worked inside, I think, from a free kick. It gets worked inside to Humphreys, who kind of loses the ball on the edge of the box, but it breaks to Bobby Poynton, and Poynton lashes it in with his left foot. And we know that Poynton's good striker of the ball from distance. He scores a lot of goals from distance. He's got a rocket in that left foot, and from that point onwards, I think it took Wickham until half time to sort of come to terms with what had gone on. Really, they were very shell shocked. Obviously, there were 19,000 in at Valley Parade, and the crowd were up, and the crowd were bouncing, and they took time to settle down after that, and it wasn't until half time until they really got going again.
We'll say at this point hello to Mr. Jason Booker. How are you doing, mate?
Very well, mate. Very well, thank you. Sorry about the short delay, but was enjoying listening to Gaz. I could have just stayed there, calmly eating my tea while I listened to Gaz eulogise over City's return to League One. But yeah, buzzing for him to get off to a good start, mate. If I'm honest, and just for my 2 pence worth, I actually think that the opening day of the season, especially when you start at home after getting promoted, I think is massive. I think it's just a massive win to kind of settle the nerves, and it's a huge win against the team that you were facing in Wickham. So yeah, buzzing for you, mate.
And as well, I think Ian's put in. We had 7 debutants that day on Saturday, so you are that is another one where you kind of you're not quite sure how it's going to go because obviously you've got so many new players playing. But I think it's a good point you make in that when you're at home and you've come off the back of a promotion and the crowd are up and the crowd are bouncing and there's lots of positivity around, it kind of feeds in, and the crowd and the team bounce off each other, and that's certainly what happened in the first half on Saturday. And like I say, we got 2 quick goals where I think we're 2 up after 15 minutes, and Wickham struggled to cope with that. And you've just got to hope that we ride that wave and follow and drive with the momentum for as long as possible. We go to Northampton away in our next game, which is obviously sort of the flip of a Wickham in the Northampton that are expected to struggle a little bit this season, and it's away, so we're not going to have the crowd behind us that we had at Valley Parade. So it'll be interesting to see how we cope with that. But yeah, a really good start all in all.
It gives you that. Sorry, Dan. I was just going to say, it gives you that safety net though, that you could maybe even go into the next 2 and lose them both, and obviously you don't want that. But at least you're off the mark. You're not going to be stranded at the bottom after 3 games with 0 points. I think it's a big deal. So yeah.
I just wonder, guys, with what you were saying about teams coming and sitting back at Valley Parade because of maybe the tension of coming to the biggest ground in the league and with the fan base, and sometimes City struggled under that pressure. Maybe in League One you'll get more teams, particularly sort of the top 12, definitely coming and trying to play against you, and maybe that makes it slightly easier for City, because instead of you sitting there and thinking, God, how are we going to break down, Newport or Harrogate or whoever comes and sits back. We're playing against Bolton, we're playing against Stockport, we're playing against, Huddersfield that will come and have a real good go. But in turn, that opens space up for, Noyden, Vale, Humphreys and, people like Cook when he gets going.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Teams aren't going to come and sit back. I mean, the odd one might, but the majority of teams are going to come and have a go. Like you said, the teams you mentioned, especially the top half of the division. And hopefully that'll play into our hands because the pressure's not on us to break teams down, which isn't Alexander's tactic, really. Alexander's very direct, get the ball forward quickly, play with a high press, put a team under pressure that way. So hopefully that'll play into our hands a little bit. And I think I'm listening to the radio on the way home, and Jamie Rayner made a good point to Gary Jones in the studio after the match about it might also help us in the fact that in the past our away form has been good and our home form's been poor, and we managed to sort of overcome that last season at home, but it was at the detriment of the away form, where the away form we really struggled away from home, and he made a point that could have been down to the fact that we got so used to the positivity and the energy and the momentum and the crowd being behind us at home to then go and turn up somewhere like you say, your Newport or your Harrogate where there's 1,500, 2,000 people there. It's a bit of a come down when you're used to playing at Valley Parade and turning teams over at Valley Parade with the atmosphere and the crowd. League One, it's going to be different. There's some big teams in League One with big crowds. We're going to be going to bigger venues with bigger atmospheres, and hopefully it'll be something that, like I said, when they come out and they want to play and they want to attack and have a go at us, it hopefully we can thrive in that kind of environment.
Yeah, one player that I wanted to quickly ask you about before we slightly move on to looking ahead to Northampton was Max Power. Obviously, he's coming to, I think, do the Richie Smallwood role. Has the dynamic there changed? Is it something that City fans are going to have to get used to? Maybe, Max's ability to, I don't know, maybe get round the pitch a bit better or, spray the ball a bit better with his passing. You tell us how different maybe that was to see him compared to Richie.
Yeah, it's a difficult one, really, because obviously Richie's been a fixture in the side for 3 years. Richie was one of those where he didn't really venture into the opposition half much. He just sit in the middle and mop everything up and break everything down. I think Max Power's going to get about the pitch a bit more. I was talking to a friend about this on Saturday, and I think there's a lot of pressure on Max Power coming into. I know why we've done it. Obviously, 3-time promotion winner out of League One, but there is pressure on him. Me and Jason talked about this. Jason McEwen on the City preview show, in that he's come in and everybody said when he came in, he's coming in to replace, or he's likely to replace Richie Smallwood in the team. And then Richie left, so that became even more apparent. And then he's taken Richie's number 6 shirt. And he's taken the captain's armband, which obviously Richie's had for the last 3 years. So the pressure is going to be on him, and he's constantly going to be compared to Richie Smallwood, particularly early on. So if he doesn't start particularly well at City and say Richie started really well at Tranmere, or Max picks up an injury and Richie's going really well at Tranmere, there's going to be some sort of negative vibes there. But I thought he did really well on Saturday. I mean, everybody did. I said it was. I commented that I thought it was a great team performance. I don't think you could have given anybody less than a 7 out of 10, which is obviously what you want on the opening day. I mean, hopefully you get that every game, but every single player was a 7 out of 10. If we're picking people out, I'm picking obviously Nerfville out and Humphreys out. It was interesting that Power was partnered with Tommy Lee in central midfield on Saturday. Now, Tommy Lee's not somebody who particularly endeared himself to City fans so far. He's not hit the heights that we hoped he'd be capable of, but he was playing further forward last season, sort of either as an emergency 9 or as an 8/10 behind the number 9, whereas he played alongside Max Power in centre mid on Saturday. And I think that was mainly due to the fact that Alex Patterson's still injured and Metcalf has only just signed, so he's got to get himself. Jensen Metcalf, he's got to get himself up to full fitness. But Tommy Lee did really, really well alongside Max Power. He got a lot of positive comments from City fans on Saturday. Maybe we've found a home for him in there. Maybe that'll be a decent dynamic to have in there as the season goes on. You've got Power, Lee, Metcalf and Patterson, I think, are 4 decent options for that central midfield role. So, yeah, it was just a really positive start from everybody involved. And like I said, you couldn't have given anybody less than a 7 out of 10, to be honest with you, mate.
let's look ahead to the trip to Northampton. A team, managed by Kevin Nolan, did okay last year, just scraped survival. Pretty much what Northampton fans were hoping for, to be honest, from last season. I think this season I've got them to go down. I think the majority of fans in League One have got them to go down. I can't remember whether you said, guys, for them to go down, but it's another potential chance for City to go away, get 3 points, and like Jason says, make a good start on Saturday into a great first 2 games this coming weekend.
It is. I think that, like I was saying before, that it was the away form that we struggled with last season. So it'd be good to put a marker down early doors and not get beat in our first away game. It was the home form that got us over the line last season. Northampton always played some really good football when they're in League Two, and John Brady was the manager there. I know, obviously, Kevin Nolan's taken over now, and they're not tipped to do particularly well this season, but they actually signed a couple of players who City were not strongly linked with, but sort of semi-linked with over the summer. They signed Dee Campbell, centre midfielder from Barrow, and I think TERRIERS, another central midfielder who spent the season on loan at Salford. I think some City fans were kind of thinking we might have been in for those 2 players. I believe they both played on Saturday. They lost 3-1 they lost 3-1 away at Wigan on Saturday. So they'll be looking to get going, obviously, in the first home game. But we've just got to go and turn up with the energy that we played with this Saturday and replicate the performance that we put in at home in an away game. And like I said, hopefully we can marry up the home and the away form this season, which we've struggled to do for years, to be honest with you, even last season when we got promoted.
Score prediction?
Oh, mate, I was saying the other day, I don't like doing predictions. I'm going to be flying. I'm going to be mid-air when the game's going on because I'm actually flying away on holiday on Saturday. And I hope that I touch down to see City have won maybe 1-0 or 2-1 again. I'd snap your hand off for another win and 6 points out of 6. But I'd take a draw as well. I just hope, like I said, that we don't lose the first away game because that was a problem last season and it'd be good to get that monkey off our back early doors.
Thanks, Craig, for also getting in touch. He said, evening, guys. Evening to you, Craig. Top weekend for us at Yorkshire Boys. It certainly was. Let's move on from Bradford City and concentrate on my team, Huddersfield Town, for the next 10 minutes or so.
Here we go. Next hour.
I'll hand over to you guys if you want to ask me a couple of questions or,
Do you want to go, Joe? Do you want me to go?
No, you go.
Well, Downsy, you've been buzzing in group chat. You've been absolutely buzzing. You were cocky in opening this show. Lee Grant's the best manager in the AFL. Alfie Mays, you are showing us all the bipolar nature of a football fan, given how depressed you were towards the end of last season. Are you now really? Obviously, you won 3-0 on Saturday, which is a great result. But has that really? Obviously, it's the start you wanted to get off to. But has it given you confidence going into the start of the season?
Oh, HMS Pistol League has got going, boys. No, I'm joking. Listen, right. Last season I was a bit too bullish, and I accept that, and it was a false dawn. I do think this season feels different. I think we talked about it on the Town Talk show yesterday. With Kane and Zach, that the stadium had definitely a different feel about it. From the Hey Dude sponsors handing out free caps and the stadium having a new sort of look and feel to it with the new sponsor in Aku, local firm in Huddersfield, to new players, virtually a new team, as Ian said in his comment. We had eight new debutants starting in the starting lineup, and obviously Grant brought on some great substitutions to help score the goals. Alfie May scored a penalty, the first time in 5.5 years, by the way, a Town penalty has been scored at home. That's over 1,984 days. Unbelievable statistic. The last time he scored a penalty was just before the pandemic started in February 2020. So
is that home and away down there?
No, just at home. Just at home.
So the last time you scored a home penalty was in 2020.
Yeah.
That's wild. I mean, the record that we had about not getting one, because we didn't have a penalty at all, home and away, for about 2.5 years, I think it was.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it? Yeah.
But that's mental. Like, that means you must have missed I would guess 4 or 5, 6.
We've missed
Well,
4 or 5. Yeah,
ask how many have you missed in that time?
I think we've missed. I don't know. People could put me wrong on this. I think we might have missed 4, and Josh Garoma has missed 3 of them.
Madness.
Yeah, it's a mental stat. There was a guy on Twitter or a lass. I don't know who, but basically they called their Twitter page No Pens FC, and ever since the last penalty was scored, every day he's gone. Day 1, day 2, and he got to day 1984 before May stuck it in. I was never in doubt with Alfie taking the penalty. Like you guys, just buzzing to get off to a great start. Town rarely do well on opening days, to be honest. We don't have a great record against what is, a decent Leyton Orient team still. Obviously, they've had a lot of changes to their team. Only 3 starters in their team from what finished the season only 3 months ago. We lost on the last day to them 4-1 and to send them to the playoffs. And the atmosphere and the whole occasion of the day was chalk and cheese compared to last season, mate. So, yes, I do apologise for my slight cockiness, but I'm not getting ahead of myself in a realistic sense. There's a long way to go, 45 games, but it's a great start for Lee Grant.
It is a great start, and it shows you, like you said last season, you were very bullish at the start, and by the end of it, you were tearing your hair out. It shows how quickly things can change, because now you've got into the start of the season and you've won 3-0, and suddenly the atmosphere is all really, really positive again. Just on the game itself, Downsy, was 3-0 a fair scoreline? Was it reflective of the 90 minutes?
Probably Leyton Orient deserved to score 1. I thought Aaron Connolly played really well for them. He was their standout player by far. Hit the post in the first 6 minutes, actually, and could have put Leyton Orient 1-0 up. But thankfully, I thought Owen Goodman, our goalkeeper, had it covered if it was going to go in. And then Ben Wiles hit the post. And then Joe Lowe stuck a header in from a Herbie Kane free kick. Went in 1-0 at half time. Second half, it played even better than the first half, really. Leyton Orient had a couple of more chances. Josh Garoma tried his best to come back and haunt us after leaving us at the end of last season. But as the half went on, I thought we got stronger and stronger, to be honest. Alfie stuck the penalty away. And then in the dying minutes, in the 95th minute, Joe Taylor sort of scuffed a shot, and it went straight into the path of Ruben Ruskin, who's just signed an extension to his contract today. Who put it in for the 3rd. So, yeah, it was a well-deserved win. I thought we deserved to win. Probably Leyton Orient did deserve to score 1 goal, but Town deserved to win the match overall.
And you talk about, obviously, Leyton Orient being a very much changed side, but you were as well, like you said. Was it 8 or 9 debutants you had playing? And that's obviously going to help. You've talked about the bad apples having needed moving on last season. It looks like you've made a good job of doing that so far. Ian's just come in with a question about your strength in depth, Downsy. Have Town got good strength in depth in the squad? And if injuries and suspensions were to kick in, how do you feel you'd cope this season?
Yeah, I think we cope really well. We have got strength in depth. In fact, there's Town fans are probably thinking that a few are going to have to go out the door to the end of the season. 12 left at the end of last season. 12 have come in, so we've gone like for like there in terms of the numbers. But I can see a couple more having to go out. Particularly, we are stacked up top. Reece Healy. You talk about the lads that weren't even in the team, Gaz. Reece Healy, Freddie Ladapo, and Bojan Radulovic up top. None of them were in the squad. You've got Marcus McGowan, who we signed from Bristol City. He wasn't in the squad. So, there's a few players that weren't even in there that could potentially have been at least on the bench or in the starting lineup. So I'm really happy with the depth. I think the quality in depth is good. I can see 1 or 2 going out the door still, but we'll see whether they're replaced. I can't see it myself. The big test is when we get to around November and December, isn't it? And like I said, the injuries start and the suspensions start. Another one that was suspended, a weird rule, I think, from the first game was Josh Feeney, who we've got from Aston Villa on loan, who looks like a quality centre-back as well. But he was suspended because of a card that he picked up at the end of last season, which I think is a bit mental that he carries over, but there we are.
And you also, it sounds very much like it's in a similar game. The game went very, especially early doors, similar to how the City game went. You got that early goals. Obviously, I got the score notification come through that Town had scored. I think it was just after City had scored as well. Was it very? I guess you'd be in a way. Is it a case of not looking back after that first goal went in, and did Town sort of take over for the rest of the game?
Yeah, I mean, the first sort of 15, 20 minutes was to and fro with Leyton Orient, to be fair. Even after we scored, Leyton Orient had a couple of chances. But I thought the second half, we really wrestled control of it. And the midfield of Ledson and Kane was exceptionally good. Ben Wiles was the best performance I've seen of Ben in a Town shirt. And you know, what I would say is I don't think Town are going to concede a lot of goals this year. I just can't see it. If that starting lineup of the defence is out to go by, and what we've seen in that first game and the game against Burnley, which I know we lost 2-0 in, but you know the goals that Burnley scored were really good. I can't see us conceding that many goals. I just can't.
Best defence in the league.
No, I'm not going to be cocky and say that, Jay, because I
That's what
think,
you said.
No, I wouldn't say, you know, that. You know, obviously there are teams with great defences in this league. I don't think, you know, likes of Cardiff and Luton will concede many goals either. But I think what's really great is, and you'll appreciate this, you know, we had Matty Pearson last year. And although I've always been a big supporter of Matty, you know, he gets the ball, panics and just blasts it upfield into no man's land. You know, you give it to Joe Lowe and Watmore and they don't panic. They look for a pass. There's no. It was just so nice to see a centre back going to the centre forward of the opposition. If you want the ball, come and take it off us then, because you know we're not going to panic and just blast it up the field. I just thought it was really good. But we'll see. We've got Reading coming up on Saturday. Yeah, Jay, I don't know if you've got any specific comments on Town or what you thought of general League One this weekend.
I caught bits. I think very similar to what I said with Gaz. I think for Town, it was massive that they got off to a strong start. Given the way that last season finished, given the dilemmas of last season, you know, the situation with Grant, the inexperience, he's brand new into the dugout. At home, I think if you lose at the weekend, I think there's some fans that are straight away on his back. And I think it can be that pivotal for your season to get off to a good start. And you not only did you get off to a winning start, you got off to a really good start. You know, it was a comprehensive victory, certainly on paper. So, yeah, I think, you know, as a team gels together, 9 new signings, or 9 debutants starting in that particular game. I think it's a like I say, a massive win. I think it's a real open division, is League One. I think it's super competitive at the top, really competitive, as we've spoken about in the group. But I don't think there's anything stopping 2, 3, 4 different teams that you would maybe think are going to struggle to break into the playoffs, competing for automatic. And I think the same about the teams that maybe you would ordinarily think are going to be 10th to 14th, pushing towards the playoffs. And I think City and Huddersfield can fall into both of them brackets. I'd put Huddersfield in and around the playoff picture, but there's nothing to say that they can't push towards automatic and replace a Wickham like Wickham did last season. And same goes for City. You know, I genuinely think you get it right at City and put the momentum in the right direction, which they're already doing on the back of the promotion. I think they could be really threatening. So yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it? You obviously go away to Reading on Saturday. I would imagine, are you looking at that in a similar way to how I'm looking at the Northampton game, Downsy, and that it's vital that you carry on away from home, how you started off at home?
Yeah, because Reading was last year, obviously, they went through all their off-the-field problems. And, you know, we went there and lost. So,
yes. And they were up there as well, weren't they, throughout last season?
Oh, they were up there, yeah. Noel Hunt, the manager, did an absolutely unbelievable job with what they were going on behind the scenes at Reading to keep that squad with players missing and going off and whatever. He kept that squad together and really got some great results. But we went there and lost, and I think that's going to be so interesting that, last season we won on the opening day. We beat Peterborough, and everybody thought, here we go, we're going to be up there and whatever. And then we went and, we lost a couple of games and it kind of put the doubt in people's minds. Now, if we go to Reading on Saturday and lose, that's where Grant's going to have to earn his corn and go, right, we've lost. We need to be mentally tougher than what the team was last year. I believe that these players can be mentally tougher because I think that they've, there's a few more better characters in there now. But it'll be interesting. And when we do have a sticky patch, are we going to go lose to a tin pot team in the FA Cup later in the season? I would like to hope and think not this time. But you never know, do you? So, listen, Reading are going to be a good team. They lost at the weekend. I can't remember who they lost to, 2-0 to somebody. I can't remember who it was, but they lost 2-0 anyway. And
they lost to Lincoln.
Oh, Lincoln, that was it. Yeah,
Lincoln, yeah.
And I expected Lincoln to be really not as good this season. So it just proves that in the division, we all did as predictions and whatever, and we all think what's going to happen. And then the opening day turns around, and I watched, definitely all the games that were on Sky. I thought Cardiff were all right. Thought Bolton looked very good. Didn't think Stockport looked as good as what they could have done. Now, there's players to come into that team that they've just bought and, that they've got to improve. Plymouth looked abysmal from what I saw. They looked horrific against Barnsley, who looked decent. So, it's the opening day. All can happen, and anything can happen in this league.
And that's why it's important going into your second game. It's like you're ticking things off all the time, aren't you? Tick the first game off, got to win there. That was at home. Next game away. It's not just it's the second game. So obviously, like your first game can be a bit of anything can happen, but second game it's building on it, especially when you're going away. When you've won at home, it's let's win the first away game now. And then, like you say, Downsy, when you hit a bad run, it's like how do we react? We've lost a couple of games. How do we react now? That's another test. That's another thing to tick off.
I think Cardiff winning was a massive, massive result for them.
Yeah, well,
I thought they were. I know they were at home, but I thought when I saw the team, I thought this could be really embarrassing. I thought they could potentially get pumped because they had a lot of kids out there. Big, stressful kind of summer. They've got all sorts of problems. Mike Bridge-Wilkinson, new manager, reputationally, standard of football is slow.
Who's the manager?
It's not Mike Bridge-Wilkinson. Yeah,
no, he's at Town. He's at Town. It's Brian Barry Murphy.
Brian Murphy. Sorry, the double barrel name. Brian Barry Murphy.
What did he say?
Downsy worried there then. You thought he'd handed his notice in at Town and gone to Cardiff straight away.
Yeah, nobody's told Lee Grant then.
Brian Barry Murphy, sorry. Yeah. I don't know why Mike Bridge-Wilkinson popped into my head. Ex-City as well, isn't he?
Yeah, he was good for us.
Yeah, a good player. So, yeah, they had because Cardiff will always be expected to be in the top six. They're probably the biggest team in the division, I would probably say.
Yeah, they're a big club of Cardiff.
They're definitely up there. So,
Luton worked great on Friday night. I didn't think. I thought Wimbledon were better than what I expected them to be. To be honest,
it was a very unfortunate way to lose, wasn't it? Right. To lose that goal near the end, their own goal, the way it came.
He was the best player.
I thought Wimbledon held their own. Yeah.
Question for both of you, and I think this probably applies more for Downton than it might do for Gaz, but what work is there to do between now and the end of the window in terms of bringing people in? And have either of you got any concerns over players going out that, could be the difference maker? I think City are probably a little bit more set in terms of potential outgoings. I think it'd be fringe players, wouldn't it? Rather than you losing somebody that's key.
You take that first, Downsy, because it kind of falls into what I was going to ask next as well. So you go first on that, mate.
Yeah, so, like I said, 12 have gone out that we expected. 12 have come in that have been really good. Do I expect any more business? There was a rumour today that Kasumu might be going. He's sort of fourth choice now in that midfield. position. So, it's in the stacked areas that I think we can see people going. People like Reece Healy, like I said, up top, Freddie Ladapo. But are there going to be really major concerns for leaving? No. I think even Lee Nichols, if Lee Nichols goes, the goalkeeper now, I'm fine with Owen Goodman being, first choice, and Jacob Chapman, when he gets fit again, being second choice. So I don't think there's a lot. Town shredded all their sort of skin from the last 2 seasons in the summer, basically.
Yeah.
So I don't see there's a lot to lose there, Jay, if I'm being honest, that would make me go, oh, I really think that's a bad sell, because I don't think there's anybody to sell that would either want to go or Town would be inclined to get a big offer for.
I agree with you. I were looking through the squad earlier, and I think it's nice for Town to see now that they've actually got rid of, like you say, that skin, because there has been some corruption within the squad for 2 seasons, haven't there? I remember me and you talking about it 2 seasons ago now under the German manager, and I were very quick to kind of say what more could he do with what he had. The players are bad apples. And I think that's still carried into last season a little bit. And now you've got a real kind of base to work on. I think Alfie May is a massive signing. I just started watching the Birmingham documentary yesterday after us all talking about it. And I'm literally just at the point where Alfie May is saying, I got an offer from Huddersfield, but I went to Birmingham.
But do you know about that, right? So I was really interested to see how that all shaped out. Do you know what? Because I've watched the whole thing now, and obviously you've just started it. I think he comes across really well in it.
I agree.
I don't think he think. I think basically all he says is, "Look, Birmingham offered me a better contract," which we knew at the time anyway, because it came out in public. So like, there was no big, "Oh well, Town are shit, and I'm going to a better club and whatever." There were none of that. I think he just said it out as it honestly was. He said, "I've got to support my family." And I think any Town fan watching that goes, fair enough. And to be honest, if he bangs the goals in, Jay, who's going to care? You know
exactly.
What I mean?
It's football, mate. And you could see he was full of respect. Like he was, I think he was super proud of where he'd come from. You got that kind of take of, the fact that only a few years ago he was playing non-league and, he's providing for his family. He got a massive opportunity to get a huge move to Birmingham under huge ownership. And when you look at the way that Tom Brady and Wagner carry themselves, and they weren't missing. I were a little bit kind of away from League One football last season. I didn't really pay attention too much to what Birmingham were doing. I saw the Jay Stansfield signing and 15 million quid and all that. It's mental, and I knew it was mental. But when I started watching this and seeing what they were about in League One, some of the players that they were signing, some of the moves that they were making, it was mental. And I mean, it's no surprise that they ended up running away with it in the fashion in which they did. So yeah, I think Alfie May came across really well, mate, and I think he's a top signing.
What was funny was you boys might not have seen it, and I know we got to get on to Leeds as well, but there's a video of when Birmingham came to Town, right, and they were going for like 7 in a row. You'll see it, Jay, in the documentary, like 7 in a row, whatever. And Alfie at that time, Alfie's going through a bit of a bad patch for him, and he's warming up sort of on the sidelines, getting ready to come on as a sub, and a Town fan shouts something at him. This isn't in the documentary, it's just a video that's gone around on Twitter since. And he goes and high fives the Town fan. Like, yeah, I know I could have come to you, lads. Do you know what I mean? But not in a bad way. It's just kind of that video has gone round social media, and it's kind of like, well, actually, you could tell back then he was a decent lad. So
part of the game, man. It's just part of the game, and they have a short career. He signed a 3-year deal with Birmingham for 20 grand a week. It's life-changing money. Life-changing money. It is. Like,
trust me, I know Chris didn't believe me, but those figures were about correct that I put in the group.
And that's how you deal with it as well. If that's what he's done, he's got an high-five the fan. That's the best way to deal with anything like that. Just laugh it off and move on. When it comes to City, mate, I don't think we'll do a lot more business. I think there might be the odd one in and out here and there. Tyler Smith and Adam Wilson have been told basically all summer that they're free to go. I think that Tyler Smith's turned down a move to Barrow already. The hope is that those two will move on, and neither of them made the bench on Saturday. I don't think either of them have made the bench even in some of the friendlies, to be honest with you. So they are clearly available to move on. Alexander said that we have the budget to bring in probably one more before anybody has to go. And then after that, it would be a case of 1 in, 1 out kind of thing. Hopefully they'll go and maybe we'll get 3 in rather than just the 1 in. But City are always busy towards the end of a window when loans start moving around. And I think there'll be 1 or 2. Or hopefully, like I said, they'll go and 2 or 3 will come in. But yeah, nothing urgent and nothing imminent at the moment, I don't think.
Loans can make or break a League One playoff promotion campaign if you get them right.
It's interesting that we haven't made any yet. We haven't got any loans in yet, which is unusual for City, and that's actually been commented on. So I think it will probably be something that we'll look at towards the end of the window, especially if those 2 go.
Leighton Orient were the perfect example of that, Jay, last season. All of their best players were on loan.
Yeah, who was the striker? Who was the centre forward that they had?
Yeah, Kelman, and he's gone now. And then they had Ethan Galbraith.
Kelman weren't on loan, were he? Kelman's
was he their player?
Sold. Yeah, Kelman's been sold this summer, hasn't he?
Yeah, Kelman's been sold, but they did have a lot of loans last year, and that's why they've had to do a bit of a rebuild. Right, well, let's move on because we could talk about League One all night, but we have got a Leeds United fan on, so we better talk about the pre-season friendly that they had yesterday against Villarreal. 1-1, Jay, from what I've seen of bits and, Farked after the game and comments and that. I did listen to a little bit of what you and Brownie were saying the other day. It's kind of good. Decent to see the new lads in and get in shape and all that. But obviously, Farke was not the happiest in terms of trying to get players in after the game, by the sounds of it.
Yeah, I mean, there's still a few gaps. I think in the team at the weekend we had 5 or 6 of our debutants. Overall, the way that I kind of summed it up was it was 2 top flight, mid-table teams. That's what it looked like. The game kind of played at a certain pace. It's a pre-season friendly. They were quite dirty, if I'm honest, with Villarreal. They were sticking it in. There was potential for a couple of really bad injuries. So thankfully we came out of it all okay. But yeah, there is some concerns within the squad, especially at fullback. Jayden Bogle was out injured, which then left Isaac Schmidt playing fullback, who's subject to a loan bid from Germany. Farke don't fancy him. That's the long and short of it. And he ain't good enough at fullback. He looked awful. He looked miles off it, to be honest. He's now a Swedish international, but he's played Swiss international, but he's played more for Switzerland really than he has for Leeds over the last 6 months. So it kind of shows you the position that he's in with Farke. Farke sees him more as a winger than he does as a fullback. He's that kind of attacking wide player, but defensively you could just tell he were miles off it at the weekend. And then at left back, obviously, we've got Gudmundsson, who's a new signing, and he's supported really by Sam Byram. And we all know what we get with Sam. He's a 6 or 7 out of 10 every week, but he's had massive injury problems, got a bit of experience. He's a homegrown, so that's why he's in and around the squad. But when you look at the options that we've got in 2 vital areas for Leeds, because we get our width from that part of the pitch, that's where we kind of get our width from. The defensive midfielders drop into a line in the back 4 to allow them to go on. The fullbacks are huge to the way that we attack. So I think it's vital that we do look to recruit at least one in that area, and that's James Justin. Looks like the player that we want from Leicester. He can play both sides, which would then sort us out, because the facts are you're going to probably struggle to displace Jayden Bogle and Gudmundsson. That aside, we're missing a little bit of creativity in the attacking part of the pitch. We obviously were on the verge of signing Igor Patjau, who ended up picking Champions League football over us. It happens at the top end of football. It happens at all levels of football. But when you're in a market for that kind of player, if the Champions League comes calling in the top division somewhere else, the likelihood is you're going to miss out, even though you can offer Premier League football.
How did you feel about that, Jay? Because I know it was a lot of Leeds fans, from what I saw, the reaction, they were quite upset about it. But I don't know whether that was just because you've missed out on somebody and you haven't heard of any other backups, or whether it was genuinely because he's a difference maker and, that was kind of it.
He was one you were quite excited about, wasn't he, Jay? You were quite excited at the thought of getting him in.
He's without a doubt a huge difference maker. So the way that I kind of spoke about it with Brownie the other day was you have this level of player where it's a huge jump. So for us to replace Ramazani, Nonto, Jack Harrison, and Dan James with somebody else of significant difference, it's very difficult because you're looking at players like, and the next one down the pecking order that came out straight after the Pajau deal fell through was Johnny Rowe, who was at Norwich, went to Marseille. Marseille are now looking to sell him on the back of signing Pajau. And you instantly into Johnny Rowe came into this side. He'd probably improve us a little bit, but is he that much better than Ramazani, Nonto, Jack Harrison, and Dan James? Probably not. He's probably in and around that level. So when you are trying to recruit, especially in that area of the pitch, you have to be ambitious and, as the club have put it, go for them stretch targets and hope that you can sell the project, sell the Premier League. Nobody else in the Premier League hopefully wants them that's above you. And you can then sell, look what happened to Rafinha. You know, he came in, had 2 seasons at Leeds and then got a massive move to Barcelona. That's the kind of project that you have to sell. So yeah, I was absolutely gutted because he is that difference maker. It'd have been very similar to when we signed Rafinha. You know, Rafinha was under the radar because people don't really watch Ligue 1 in this country. Same as the Eredivisie in Holland. People don't really know who Pajau is, but I'm a football nerd. Like the guy's a beast, and we'll see. We you know, world football will now see it in the Champions League this year. So yeah, disappointed, and it now leaves us in a position where we still are missing that creativity, and it's going to leave us with. Well, we definitely will sign somebody in that spot. It's just whether they're as good as Pajau.
So anyone linked at the moment, Jay? Any names doing the rounds that you think might come in and fill that hole?
So the 2 names that are like kind of instantly now banding about. One's Manor Solomon. Obviously, we had him last season on loan. The noise was that we wouldn't get him back because Thomas Frank wanted to see him and wanted to give him an opportunity. He's then not got any opportunity by the sounds of it. So I don't know whether that was just, you know, noise, but he didn't go on the tour from what we've heard. So that could be a potential. And the second one, and the one that we look more likely to pursue right now, but is getting other interest, is El Khanous from Leicester. Now, El Khanous is more of a high 8 or a 10 rather than a left-sided player, but he did play quite a lot of last season for Leicester on the left. So he could maybe look to be that kind of solution and give us more options around the pitch. Highly creative. And yeah, minimum. He's got a release clause of 24 million quid. So in terms of Premier League prices, it's actually not that bad. But I have a gut feeling we won't get that one done. I think he'll end up probably going to either Tottenham or Crystal Palace if they sell Eze in time. From what I'm hearing.
So just a couple of questions on the back of everything that you said, because I want to get your opinion on it. One, do you think with the deal falling through, and like you said, with the other options that you've now got going, is that a massive? Are you really worried about that two week or a week till the season comes out? Do you think that Farke is worried because from the comments that I read, it kind of comes across like that, or maybe I've read it wrong? You tell me as a Leeds fan. And thirdly, I'm sure you were linked with Rowe before, were you, back in the Championship when you were going up? Or have I got that wrong as well?
Yeah, no, you're right. We were on the verge of signing Johnny Rowe before we signed Manor Solomon. And Johnny Rowe then picked to go to Marseille, as it happens.
Oh, my God.
This situation has happened to us twice. I mean, that situation is probably a little bit different because Johnny Rowe having the opportunity to go to the top league in France is a no-brainer over coming to Leeds in the Championship. I get that. So yeah, and I'll be honest with you, I think we ended up out of that deal better off. I think Manor Solomon's a better player than Johnny Rowe, if I'm totally honest. The risk attached to it were a bit bigger at the time because of the injuries. But yeah, I don't think the Johnny Rowe deal's anything. I think it was lazy journalism after the Pajau deal falling through, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
To answer a couple of your other questions, I think I'm not so worried. Like, I think we have holes. We need a 10 or a creative player within that area of the pitch, 10, inside forward, whatever you kind of want to call it. We need a 9, and I think that deal will get done, but I think it would be towards the back end of the window, probably Rodrigo Muniz, if not another. And we definitely need a backup fullback. But from what I saw at the weekend, the signings that have come in, Longstaff, Anton Stack, especially the German midfielder that we've signed, German international, 26-year-old, the guy's a player. The guy's a real player. He's one that we've beaten off a lot of other top-level competition for. Leverkusen apparently were in for him, and we managed to get ahead of quite a few other teams to get him. You'll see again when the Premier League comes round, you can see it, can't you, in a player. The second that you see him, the way that they stride across the pitch, the way that they strike the ball, the awareness of what's going on around him, he already stands out within the team as being the most quality that we've got. Yeah. So, yeah, overall, I'm pretty happy that we're going to be competitive. Brownie asked me the question at the weekend, if the season was to start tomorrow and we were to go with this team, would we stay up? I said to him that it'd be between us finishing 17th and 18th. That's where I feel like this team is. I think it'd be competitive and it'd be close towards the end of the season, whether it'd finish 17th or 18th. That's my gut feeling. As for Farke, I think was very clear in his comments that he wanted to put it right on the toes of the board. And we still have things to do within this next 2 weeks to get ready for the opening day of the Premier League.
Well, that's a dangerous game from Farke, because if you don't win his first, if you don't start well in his first 10 games, it's looking dodgy, isn't it?
Well, I think that'd go whether we got the signings in or not, because the 49ers have invested a lot. They need Premier League football. They're going to expect this team to be competitive. Very similar to what we're saying we used two boys earlier. Our opening fixtures, they're tricky. They're tricky. And if we don't beat Everton at home on the opening day, it'd leave us in a position where after game week 3, we quite possibly will be on 0 points, because we've got Newcastle away and Arsenal at home. I think that's the next 2 directly after.
The only thing I'd say about that, though, is I agree Everton's massive for you. I think you've got to go in with it and trying to do all you can to win it, which you will do, but I agree that's massive. The Newcastle game's interesting because it depends what's happening with Isak and all that business that might disrupt them. So you might go and get a win there, might you?
You've got to look at every game as being possible to win, haven't you?
I think that's going to rumble on, that Isak. I think Newcastle are apparently struggling to get signings over the line, and I don't think they're going to let Isak go until they do. So, but whether he's in the team is another matter, because obviously you've got everything that's going on around. I think James Justin's a great little signing if you get that one over the line. I really do. Been impressed with him. I know he's had his injury problems over the last year or so, but this is a lad who I don't know if he's actually in the England squad, but he's definitely on the verge of the England squad not so long back. And like you said, play both sides. Very quick, good going forward and good going back as well. I think that's a cracking little sign. If that,
what, Gaz? Me and Brownie were saying about it the other day on the stream. Like, how do you recruit for a backup fullback position? Like, where are the options? Because Jayden Bogle, I said to Brownie at the weekend, Jayden Bogle probably is our most creative player right now, which seems a little bit crazy considering the fact that he's a right back. But he's just extremely important for the way that we play. So he's going to play. He's one of the first names on the team sheet. So how do you sell a project to a player that you're potentially going to take over from another country that, look, you're not going to start unless there's an injury and then you're in? As a fullback, you don't even have the opportunity really to come off the bench. Yeah, like it's not like you need a game changer and you look to change your fullback like an attacker or a winger. So, even a midfielder, even a centre midfielder, you can think that you're going to get some game time if the game state changes. Fullbacks, you don't really do that. Same as centre backs and goalkeepers. So you need to then look at these players like Max Aarons, who's ended up going to Rangers on loan from Bournemouth. Or you need to look at James Justin, who's dropped down to the Championship because of relegation. He's had injury problems, and he, I think, would be prepared to come back up to the Premier League and be sat on the bench and wait for his opportunity. And because he can play both sides, he'll then get double the opportunity for the injuries. Yeah. So I just think it makes a lot of sense. I think it makes a lot of sense.
That's like when we were in the Premier League in the second season and we went and signed Scott Malone and Danny Simpson. The 34-year-old Danny Simpson that were already cropped. You know what I mean? That we knew weren't going to play, but he were there in case you were needed. So I think it's always difficult for promoted teams to sign these type of players because, like you said, there's lads that know that they could probably go top end of the Championship, get some success, win a cup, win a trophy or whatever, go for promotion and have a good year and play lots of games rather than sat in the bench. All right, probably being paid more at Leeds, but you're not going to play,
Yeah, no, you're right. It's part of the reason why I was so keen to sign James Milner. James Milner would have played such a role for us, and he's going to end up playing another season this season at Brighton. I wouldn't be surprised to see him play another year thereafter as well. But he's gone and signed for another season at Brighton. He'd have been perfect, because then we would have sorted out a few different issues and situations, and he'd have been understanding of his situation within the squad. You know what I mean? Like, too many fans are like, "Oh, that's a crap signing." Like, no, like, it takes more than just the glory signings to make up a squad. These players are essential for what you're doing.
Ian asked a question earlier on, and I know we've just gone over 9 o'clock, so we will wrap up in a minute. But Ian said earlier on about Town having enough depth. Do you think Leeds have enough depth when it comes to not just numbers, but quality when it comes to that time, November, December, January, where you're getting injuries, it's cold, you're getting suspensions? Have Leeds got enough depth in quality to
And on the back of that, Jay, when you've answered that one, how confident are you that the sort of 3 players that you think you need, how confident are you that gets done?
So I think the kind of both questions kind of answer together. In that, if we sign the 3 players that we need to sign, we'll probably then have enough should no first teamers go out. Now, the luxury that we've kind of got with this squad is that there isn't any prized assets. The previous years where we had Jorginho Rutter, Cree Somerville, like, they were standout players. Our standout player really last season was Manor Solomon, who wasn't owned by us anyway. The rest of the team was kind of a sum of its part job. You know what I mean? Like, the team was the difference. So we don't have any players really that other teams are thinking we need to stick a 30 million, 40 million pound bid in for them. And the ones that we maybe do have, that wouldn't make sense for us to sell. I look at like Pirro, who we spent big money on, Ethan Ampadu, who's as captain. They would maybe come. Tanaka. Tanaka's a funny one though, because Tanaka's got no top level experience whatsoever. I think a lot of top level clubs are a little bit worried to touch him. I think we'll see whether in 6 months' time if Tanaka gets. Yeah, I know. I really rate him, but there's an avenue down to that Tanaka doesn't start the season.
No.
I think the midfield 3 will probably be Ampadu, Longstaff, and Stack. I think that'll be
Longstaff will definitely start.
Yeah, and
you're not going to sign a player like that and not start him.
Well, Stack's our big signing. Stack's a £20 million signing, and then you don't drop Ampadu. Ampadu's as captain. So where does Tanaka play? Like, it's going to be an interesting one with him. So yeah, just to kind of tie the 2 questions in, I think the 3 signings will be key. I don't think we'll lose too many more. I could see maybe 1 or 2 going out. Obviously, this back and forward situation with Mateo Joseph is going to rumble on. I'd be cutting my losses within me, but the club are basically standing on, look, you've got 3 years. Unless a fee comes through that suits us, you're not going anywhere. I think he'll end up going out on loan towards the end of the window. He's not had any part in pre-season. He's not back at training. He's refusing to train, which just seems mental considering the fact that
he's what?
Well, bear in mind, Downsy, right? He's scored 2 goals last season, right?
He's not a wizard.
No, he's not. He's not even a first team starter for us. Bear in mind, at the end of last season, he was 3rd choice behind Patrick Bamford, who has also been ostracised to the 21s. Patrick Bamford's still training and playing, but Bamford's been told that he's going to play no part, so he's not joining in with the first team friendlies. But, Joseph was 3rd place behind both of them, and he's taken his bat and ball, and he's been advised really badly because he's, the powers with Leeds with this situation. I think we just send him out on loan to La Liga, and we'll see how the land lies in a year's time.
Or some Norwegian 3rd club teach him a lesson.
I think he's probably got potential, but last season he had a shocker, if we're honest. He started the season as number 1 striker and lost it pretty quickly and never regained it back. And his attitude throughout the season, to be honest with you, stunk. So I think we might see him go out, and I think we might see a centre-back go out as well. When I say centre-back, I'm talking about Pascal Struijk. But I think the injury concerns Todd Bornau, who's one of our other signings, who is going to probably be 3rd or 4th choice, will maybe mean that Pascal will stay. So to summarise, sorry, I'm going around in circles. I think the depth of the squad will be right if we sign the 3 players, and I think we will sign the 3 players. Yeah. I think we will. I think one way or another, we 100% will sign a backup fullback and a creative player. My concern would be that we might not get the 9 through the door, and we'll go forward with Perot and Metcha.
I think you do need another 9, but
Yeah,
that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
Right. Well, anything else from you guys? Because otherwise, I think we'll end it there.
No, I don't think so, mate. I think we've done well there, haven't we, boys?
Yeah.
Just to kind of, because we said we were going to touch Premier League in general, just be interested, before we go on, we will talk for no more than 5 minutes. What is your feelings on the battle at the bottom? How do you think the land will lie? 2 seasons back to back of both teams, of all 3 teams, going straight back down. I think this is the year where the mold will be broken. Whether it'll be us that does it or not is up to interpretation. And I think right now we'd be right in that battle. I won't be surprised if we go down or stay up. I think we will get the recruits that will mean we'll just push it up and we'll probably finish about 15th. That's my gut feeling. But where do you boys stand on the battle at the bottom? Because I think it's more open than it's been for a long time, with the changes at Brentford, the weakness at Everton and West Ham. I think there's others down there as well that I can imagine will probably get sucked in. So I'd just be interested in your thoughts quickly.
I think a lot of it depends on what's done between now and the beginning of September. Like you're saying, Leeds are looking to bring 3 in at least, or you think they should be bringing 3 in. I think other clubs are probably saying similar. We need to do this, or everyone is out there. I mean, I'm saying it about City and Liverpool. I think Brentford are in big trouble. I think a lot of people do. Obviously, Mbeumo's already gone. They're talking about Vista going to Newcastle. The manager's gone to Spurs. That's 3 huge figures at that football.
Norgard at Arsenal too.
Yeah, well, I'd forgotten about him, Jay. Yeah, another one. And he was captain, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I think they're in massive trouble. I think West Ham could have a problem. Graham Potter needs to get them going quickly there. Otherwise, he's going to be under huge pressure. We know that West Ham can go through managers quite quickly. And then the other one is obviously Palace. I think Palace, Eze, whether he stays or goes, is a big one. They've already lost Elise. They were the 3 big ones for me, Matt. And obviously Gueye. They're talking about Gueye possibly moving on. If they lose Gueye and Eze, having already lost Elise last summer, I think they're in trouble. And I think Burnley will go. I think they will. And I think that Sunderland have done good business. I think Sunderland could surprise us. I think you and Sunderland are more likely to stay up than Burnley. But that's my thoughts on it at the moment. Downsy?
Yeah, just on my thoughts, I think Sunderland and Leeds are definitely the ones that I think can stay up. I think Burnley have bought not brilliantly. Personally, I think Scott Parker plays a very boring brand of football. All right, it got them up in terms of the defence last year, but I think in the Premier League, you also, in any division, don't you need to score goals, and it's even more vital in the Premier League that you score goals because you need to win games. So Burnley to go down. I think Leeds and Sunderland have definitely got the attributes to stay up. I think Sunderland have had a great window. I think Leeds, like I say, Jay, need a couple more in. Brentford, I don't understand the whole Keith Andrews being put in charge there. I mean, I know we took a risk in putting Lee Grant, but my God, there's
different levels, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a difference between a League One club putting a rookie manager in with actually spending a lot of money, and then a rookie manager coming in who I actually don't think to, by all accounts, a very good coach. I mean, what is he been? Goalkeeper coach. So anyway, he's been
coach,
whatever he's been.
Yeah,
I don't think he's got the attributes to be a manager there. So I think Brentford are looking bad. West Ham, I don't rate Potter. I never have done. And I just think they've lost Kudus, who they brought in. Callum Wilson at 35-year-old. I think West Ham are in big trouble. I also think Wolves are not the side that haven't really brought in anybody. And all right, I think they've got a decent maybe manager there, but I think they'll struggle. Wolves are always down there. Like you said, Palace depends on Eze, but I think the gaffer there is a good gaffer in Glasner. So yeah, but they're probably down there. I think what you've got, Jay, is you've got the ability to be, Bournemouth and Fulham are not going to be great this season, or definitely as strong as what they were in the last 2 seasons. So I don't see why Leeds or Sunderland can't go away to Bournemouth and Fulham and get results. Brighton as well, I don't think will be as strong. So listen, what we've got this year for me is the top 6 are the top 6 of Liverpool, City, Arsenal, Chelsea, Newcastle, and probably Spurs. And then the rest is much of a mustness for me. I think Villa won't be as strong. although they'll be up there, definitely top half. So I think the bottom, Jay, is well up for grabs, and I think I agree with you. It's the year to break the hoodoo. So the teams, mostly to answer your question, the teams that will be down there for me are Burnley, Brentford. I think they're two definite going down. And then it's between you, Sunderland, Wolves, and West Ham.
Yeah, I'd agree with Burnley and Brentford. I think a few people have mentioned Everton. I think Everton will be fine. I think Moyes will sort them out. I think they'll be. You look at what he did when he came in last season. I think they've signed a centre forward as well. Obviously, Calvert-Lewin has been released on a free. He's had his injury problems. They've signed. I think they paid nearly 30 million for a centre forward, haven't they? I think they'll probably be all right. But yeah, Burnley and Brentford to go, and then Wolves are a funny one because their manager. Obviously came in and did really well when he came in last season. But I'll be honest with you boys, I'd never heard of him before he rocked up at Wolves. And he done well there. Can he do it in the second season when they've not really done much business? It'd be interesting to see.
There's going to be a bigger spread of points, isn't there? That's one thing that I feel like you're going to see a lot of the season because the teams that have come up are far more capable of taking points off the whole of the division. That's the start off. And the teams that are in and around 12th to 17th, they're not going to finish on as high points total as maybe they did last season. I also think, and I can't throw it out, but I think Manchester United are going to be down there. Like, I can't get rid of this kind of feeling that they're going to be in and around. And look, Cunha and Mbeumo might come in and just take off. They might. But my gut feeling is that they won't. I think they'll just end up being part of the problem. You know, they haven't changed enough throughout that squad to really make enough of a difference based on what we've seen last season with Amram. I'm not saying that they'll go down, but I think they'll still be in and around there. So I agree with you. But Burnley, people don't talk about the fact that, you know, they had this great defensive record, fine, but they've lost two of them. They've lost CJ Gunriley and they've lost James Trafford. So I can't see yet how they're even competitive as it currently stands. So yeah, I agree with pretty much everything that you said.
Just on United, what on earth is Sesko doing? Why would you go to United instead of every day of the week and twice on Sunday you go to Newcastle, aren't you?
It's money. It's
money. But Newcastle can surely offer the same money. It can only be the reputation of being part of making that club back to what it was. But it's an ingrained. Well,
let's be honest. Sorry to cut you off. Let's be honest, though. Both Newcastle and Man United, he's got the chance to be the number one player, hasn't he? Because with Man United, they've got crap strikers. And at Newcastle, they haven't got any strikers on the books at the moment, apart from that young 19-year-old that they've got.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, the way that Newcastle idolise strikers, and obviously if he comes in, obviously you'd imagine that Isak goes if Sesko comes in. I just think it's why? What are you doing? Like, if you go to United,
football there as well, guys. Champions League football too. Like, it's a funny one, isn't it? I mean, I don't want to go down another rabbit hole because I know we should be going off 8 minutes ago. But Newcastle's window's bizarre to me, really bizarre.
They've no recruitment team, have they? They've no head of football or whatever. The board are dealing with it, aren't they, from what I can gather, and that's why things are getting messed up. Obviously, they messed up the Trafford one, and then
they've lost out.
Did they actually get Ramsdale over the line on loan?
Ramsdale's been on loan.
But they've lost out on João Pedro. They've lost out on loads of lads, haven't they? Ekitike.
They've signed a Langer, haven't they?
Oh yeah, they did get a
that's the only positive. And on that, you swiped me very nicely, Jay, to try and end the podcast here, which we talked about all the clubs down the bottom, which we could see, and maybe we might see. But one club that we definitely want to see go down is Nottingham Forest. Anyway, right, thank you very much for everybody joining the podcast tonight. Let's hope the Tricky Trees get relegated. Let's hope Town win away at Reading and City pick up 3 valuable points at Northampton. Thank you very much to Jay for joining us. Good to see you and have you on, mate. I've not been on with you for a while, but great to see you.
It's been a while, mate. No, thank you. It's been good to be back on a Monday. It's difficult for me as a Monday night. So, yeah, as you boys gear up at the weekend, we play AC Milan. So,
level. I remember the days of Barcelona B coming to the Acu Stadium, but there we are.
No, it's 13.
Gaz, thanks very much for joining us, mate. Enjoy your holiday away, wherever you're going.
Yeah, jetting off on Saturday, so I won't be around next week. But yeah, good to see you both, boys.
You lucky sod. Thank you very much for everybody joining us tonight on the show. We've not got round to everybody's comment, but we really do appreciate everybody who has got involved with the show. Please do like, share, and subscribe to the channel. I'll try and get the right screen to end the show. But let's just remember, Alfie May, what a god. See you later, boys.